What is up, everyone? JD here. Hope you're all doing well today. Today, we have a battle of the blades. We're going to check out the Spyderco Stovepipe. You probably saw the review of this recently, so you probably know who's coming out here to do this battle. It is going to be the Roxi 3. I think these two occupy the exact same space in the EDC world for what they're going after. And that is going to be a small, edgy knife that is surprisingly large hand friendly. We're going to run through the specs together in a comparison style or a versus style, and we're going to start with the handles. So the Roxi 3 has a 4.06 inch titanium frame handle, and the Stovepipe has a 4-inch handle. The Roxi accomplishes its ergonomics prowess with very neutral lines, but a very aggressive styling cue. It has a forward finger choil, thick, chunky scales, and it's very comfortable in hand for a large hand knife. Let me move this down just a little bit so I can show this to you. But as you can see, I have plenty of space with that forward finger choil. I'm able to get the full hand on there. I do go just past the dedicated jimping on here, but using the jimping is comfortable, and push cuts holding it in that gorilla grip, for lack of a better description, is extremely comfortable. They did a fantastic job with the ergos on this knife. Now, the Stovepipe has the space to allow for a big hand to really fit in there, but the difference is these edges are very sharp, and even here you're feeling it. It's scratching in hand constantly. So it is irritable to hold this and use this for any length of time. And the scallop, same thing here. I do fall just outside of the scallop section, but using it is very comfortable, and the gorilla grip here does work. But again, I have found that with this particular knife, it is more irritable. So I'm going to give the ergonomic advantage to the Roxi 3. It is slightly longer. I mean, it's like a hair longer, and it is more neutral, so it feels more comfortable in hand. Let's talk about the lock bar access on these. The Roxi 3 has this completely chamfered out, so you can get in here very easily, and you can really do it any way that you prefer. You can pull up on it and it's going to be comfortable, and you can just access to let it fall shut. Very, very comfortable. The Spyderco, it is lipped and chamfered, and you have really good access to it. This one here is on bearings, this one here on phosphor bronze washers. Each have their advantage. The bearings are going to be more fidget friendly, very fidgetable. It's going to have very snappy action, whereas the action on the phosphor bronze washers are going to be more deliberate. It's going to be less prone to dirt, and it's going to feel very smooth if it's done correctly on those washers. So they have their advantages. So I'm going to tie up the washers, and I'm going to tie up the lock bar access. I think both of them are very, very, very well done. Pocket clip, neither one of these are reversible. I would say that I prefer the Roxi's pocket clip a little bit, and that's only because it's chamfered down. As far as the function, it's going to be a tie. Both of them have very good ramps, and both of them go in and out of the pocket nicely, and they have no hang points or catch-up points. So functionally, tie. How they impact ergonomics, I give the rounded off pocket clip advantage to the Roxi, and I'd give the looks to the Roxi because there's machining here for the milling, and they have it knocked out and scalloped out, whereas the Spydercos just have this tiny little bit right here that it looks like they just kind of hit it with a Dremel. So not as aesthetic, I don't think. Now let's talk about the blades. You have S35 VN versus 20 CV. I trust Spyderco's heat treat on their 20 CV to be superior. It's already a superior. It's supposed to be a superior edge on a 20 CV blade versus S35 VN, but we, for the longest time, was putting S35 VN on all their premium knives before they switched to 20 CV. Their 20 CV heat treat is not going to be as good as the Spyderco's, but their S35 VN heat treat and how you treat that steel versus 20 CV is going to make this a better performer, in my opinion, meaning it's going to have better edge retention than their 20 CV counterpart. it's going to be easier to sharpen than Wii's 20CV counterpart, because this one here, you can heat treat it like that 59 to 61 range, and it's going to be a better performer at that heat range than the same 59 to 61 that they're doing on their 20CV. Having said that, Spyderco is more than likely, I have seen documentation where they're doing this at around 62 on their 20CV, so it's going to have better edge retention, a little bit harder to sharpen. For me personally, for an EDC blade, I really do think S35EN is going to be the better steel, because it's going to hold that edge a long time, and then when you need to go sharpen it, you're not going to feel discouraged with that experience. But I'm giving the victory to the Spyderco because they do a phenomenal heat treat on their 20CV, and the 20CV is a superior steel for the edge retention. You're just going to have to spend more time and be more patient and more methodical with the sharpening of the 20CV. And for me personally, when I sit down and dedicate time to do sharpening, it's actually kind of therapeutic for me, so I enjoy it. So I'm giving the edge to the Spyderco for the steel. Now, cutting geometry, we're switching back, and I'm giving that to the Roxi because it goes further up. It has a taller grind, and it is just as thin behind the edge. The factory edge is not a factor, because the factory edge on the Spyderco, I grant, is better than the one that comes on the Roxi. It has a better angle, it's laid back more, it's more slicey. But when it comes down to the thickness of the knife, they're both pretty thick geometry, but the Wii's slightly thinner, and then because that taller flat grind, it's going to feel like it goes through the material a lot better. So I'm giving the cutting performance and geometry victory to the Wii Roxi 3. Now, as far as cutting edge, you get more on the Roxi 3. You got a sub 3-inch blade to just over 3 inches, 3.14 inches on that blade there. So you're getting a little bit more cutting edge. As far as the deployment methods, that also is going to be going to the Roxi 3, because you get the thumb hole, which allows you to deploy it with the thumb. If you don't understand, that's what it means. You also have the fuller that you can reverse flick, or you can spidey flick out of that thumb hole as well. And then you do also have the front flipper that works pretty good normally. I don't know why I whiffed just there, but it works pretty good. I think when I get ready to do this disassembly video for maintenance, I'm probably going to tune that lock bar just a tiny bit on the Roxi 3. You get the thumb hole on the Spyderco, so you get a really satisfying slow roll, and then the thumb flick and the reverse flick on this knife are very satisfying. So it's not a bad deployer. I think you just get a slight advantage with this one being on bearings, and you get the front flipper as well and the fuller, so it's a little bit more diverse, so it's just a slight edge for the deployment. Lock bar access, we talked about. Lockup on both these knives are really good. I don't think you don't get lanyard on the Stovepipe. You do on the Roxi 3. I just kind of wish it wasn't through the body. I kind of wish they would have done like the scoop on the back spacer, but irregardless, it does have it there if you want it. And if you don't like it, then I guess the Stovepipe would be your winner. I personally don't do lanyards. I have them on the Runt 5 or something really small that's a 2-finger knife, so I can get like a little bit of purchase with the back part of the hand, but normally I'm not much on lanyards. Weight. The Stovepipe, coming in at 4.9 ounces, is the heavier of the two knives. The Roxi 3, coming in at 4.25 ounces, is the lighter of the two knives. Both of them are under 5 ounces. Both of them feel relatively substantial in hand for as small as they are, without feeling like they're overweight, if that makes sense. So like carrying it in the pocket, not really feeling it, but when you go to hold them, they feel quality because they feel like they're solid builds. So I like both of them, so I'm giving them a tie because I think their weights are done nicely. Like they feel good carrying them and holding them. Price, Stovepipe over $400, the Wii Roxi 3 under $250. Taichung, Taiwan versus China. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. You're able to get this knife that cheap because it's made in China. This one is like buying an American-made knife almost with that Taichung, Taiwan plant. You're getting very similar production quality like you would from most U.S. manufacturers. I say most because there's other manufacturers that have come back to the U.S. that are doing good builds, but they're not really outstanding, not super tight tolerances, not phenomenal builds yet, but I'm hoping that they get there. Who would you pick? Which one of these knives would you rather have? Would you rather have the Stovepipe as is, or would you rather have the Roxi 3? For me personally, just because ergonomically, the way it fits in the hand, how comfortable it is, and all of the deployment methods, I really do like the Roxi 3 a little bit better. But that doesn't mean that I don't like the Stovepipe. I think it is very unique. I think if it was priced around $350, it probably would be more appealing than it is over $400. Over $400, I'm going to be looking to get a sliced buoy as opposed to a Stovepipe. That's just me personally though. In the end, the Roxi 3 for me is the winner. It has just slightly better aesthetics, slightly better ergonomics, slightly better cutting edge. Well, actually, it has way better ergonomics. The Stovepipe is very irritating. I wish they could have chamfered down all of the sharpness on there. The lines are great, but I think just rounding off where it feels like it's scratching the hand all the time would really go a long ways for me, especially if they were able to bring that down to that $350 price point. As it is, Roxi's winning today. Let me know who you picked. If you enjoyed this blade battle, do me a favor, leave a like. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. If you are, thank you for the continued support. I appreciate you. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.